There's one stock to buy. It is a semiconductor stock. With the market recently coming down significantly, it does offer a buying opportunity if you're positioned in the right stocks. Now, this ticker has had a lot of buzz about it recently due to its OpenAI deal. The ticker is AMD, and the reason it's the right time to buy is there was some euphoria after it went up 40% in a day on this partnership with ChatGPT, OpenAI. And with the market correction, it's actually brought AMD down to a level where it's once again buyable. I don't consider stocks that are up 40, 50%, in a day buyable in most cases. And I'm not saying everything's about numbers and percentages, but it is the stock market, so it certainly helps to take a look at the stock prices as opposed to just the news. The news is significant. I'm not saying that Trump coming out and there's even a China response at this point to the tariffs. China, you could say, started it by saying we're not going to give the U.S. rare earths anymore. Some U.S. rare earth companies shot up as well, but some of them are less viable than others. AMD is the behemoth that had recent big news and is now, due to this coincidental timing of this Trump Truth Social quote-unquote tweet, AMD is at a buyable level again. So let's jump into the levels. Let's jump into a little bit about the market news. Okay, everyone wants to know what happened, what's going to happen. No one knows. That's why it's not really that interesting to make a video about, in my opinion. But there are stocks that are now coming back to reasonable levels to buy, and that's interesting.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 So this is AMD. This is the market, right? The market unwound like 8%, okay? So let's do a little napkin math here. If you had all your money in stocks, which is a little aggressive, right? But when you're aggressive, you also make big gains. I mean, in September, we went up 6%. Okay, we pretty much unwound that in one day. But when you're in individual stocks, when you're concentrated in individual stocks, in September, you experienced some of these big gains. I mean, RGTI went 170%. So it's not about the market only going up 6%. It's the fact that if you're in the right individual stocks, you do experience much bigger gains. Okay, RGTI, a quantum name. Nuclear names are also one that experienced big gains over 100%. Even some names that had already gone up a lot. I mean, some were a little more difficult, but Palantir did go up 20%. This is a massive company that still had a 20% boost. So let's say your whole account, you have a 500K account. Let's say your whole account was in 5 names, okay? Let's say it was in Palantir. Let's say it was in RGTI. Let's say it was in Oklo. And then maybe, we're not going to give you all the credit, or whoever all the credit. Let's say you were also in Netflix for whatever reason, and that just went sideways, okay? So that's 4 stocks. And then let's say the last stock you were in, God forbid, not crypto, not a hyper leveraged crypto altcoin, and you weren't on hyper leverage, on a lot of leverage on Bitcoin itself or Ethereum, but let's say you maybe bought a crypto related stock, okay? Iron, okay? Now, this transitioned to a data center play, so I'm not going to give this example that much credit. Maybe it's something a little gnarlier that had a gnarlier pullback here. And, this pullback actually was pretty gnarly, so maybe it's a good example, but how about a BMNR, okay? A stock that hasn't moved much in the last month, okay? And still had a bit of a pullback. So this went sideways as well for the last month. So in general, those 5 stocks, BMNR went sideways, Netflix went sideways, RGTI went up over 100%, over 150%, Oklo went up over 100%. And I already forgot the 5th one, but in general, let's say your average return on all those positions was like 30%, okay? Pretty awesome for 1 month, but it was also one of the most insane months for all these stocks, okay? And for the market as a whole, it wasn't like the craziest move up. This was the craziest move up after the initial tariff capitulation. This was pretty good as well, another 5% or so. It's been a bull market. This was pretty good, another 4%, say July, August, and then September. Pretty good as well, but now pulled back, okay? If you're just invested in the market, yeah, I mean, you're back to square September 1st. I'm not going to say square one because only a month ago you were at the level that you're at now, okay? So the only people that really got owned on Friday were the altcoin leveraged crypto bros, okay? Even if you were leveraged on Bitcoin or Ethereum, I mean, it was really bad. I mean, this is a candle that's like 15% almost, okay, from top to bottom. Maybe 10 to 12%, depending on how you measure candles. This is 24 hours, which is fitting for a crypto chart that crypto does trade 24 hours. Yeah, if you're leveraged, you're going to have a bad time. And I mean a really bad time. If you bought some of these altcoins, I mean, you can't view altcoin ETFs because they're not tradable through this broker, this chart software, this Thinkorswim, Schwab ETF. These are ETFs, XXRP. The Solana one is SOLT. Yeah, I mean, they went down, but they didn't go down like a crazy amount. I mean, yeah, it's bad. Went down 40% and then bounced up 25%. It's only really bad, though, if your whole portfolio is in one of these, which is certainly not something I preach and not that most people think is a good idea. So with all that backdrop in mind, your portfolio probably, if you were in the stocks I mentioned, I mean, sure. Would it have been great for your stock portfolio to just continue moving up like Oklo? Yes. Is that realistic? Not at all. I mean, there's going to be some pullbacks. Yes, some of these stocks did have little pullbacks on Friday, but in general, it just wasn't that big a deal compared to people who were wholly invested in, say, leveraged futures on Bitcoin or Ethereum, or even worse, the altcoins, some of which went down more than 50%. Okay? But if you're in some of these companies like IONQ and Quantum, maybe Oklo and Nuclear, maybe Palantir, maybe Netflix, and maybe BMNR, those are the 5 examples. Let's say you had 20% of your account in each of those 5 stocks. Then say in aggregate you were up, say, very conservatively, I'll make it even more conservative now, 15% in the last month. Okay. Maybe in aggregate you're now only up, say, 5% in the past month. Okay. It's still pretty good. So unless you're really hopping in and out and you just happen to get caught in, say, putting like 30% of your portfolio in a crypto related company like BMNR, then yes, okay, when this goes from 60 to 50, which is whatever it is, 8 to 10%, and let's say maybe you sold at the bottom and you really got hosed for 20%. Yeah, if you put almost half your portfolio and then it goes down 20%, your whole portfolio is going to take a 10% haircut, and your 500K becomes 450K in a single day. For most people, they were not in that situation on Friday. So was it bad? It was, but only if you were wholly invested in the market itself. And even then, this is only, 5% maybe from 670 to 650, right? So that's pretty much the wrap up on that. So do we want to be concerned? Could this drift down to probably not below, early February initial tariff worries, but could it drift down, digest to a little above that line? It certainly could, but it might take a couple weeks, a week or so at least, of chop to get there. And again, that was kind of expected anyway. We were up a lot. So this is sort of a much not expected pullback to have it look like this, but realistic pullback that this was sort of long overdue. And now we might just sort of drift down a little. Monday might be like a bad red day. It might, okay? We might come down all the way, say, to this gray line, this 100-day moving average of the SPY, which would be like 640 or something. But it's unlikely to be a total just second, Black Monday situation where it goes down 10% tomorrow. So as of the time of this video, I think there is a buying opportunity no matter what happens tomorrow, and that's AMD. And the reason is everyone was worried or FOMOing or ROMOing, right? Regret of missing out on this massive 30-40% move in a day, or 2 or 3, however you want to measure it. And now we're getting a little digestion where there's a lot of volume on this day, October 6th, which is this big day, and you can risk off that 208 level, the close level. You see the close up here, whatever it is, 208-ish, 207-ish, and it came down, it kind of touched that, tested that, and then came back up, okay? So was that exactly related to AMD, or was it just an expression of the market itself? It doesn't really matter. The point is, the price of the stock's down here where it closed, 215, and now you're getting really close to being able to risk a close level, 207, whatever, maybe 212 if you want to risk up here, have a closer risk. So you can buy, only risk a few bucks. And yes, are there cases where you can't really risk a few bucks because the market could just pull again? I mean, if you were risking a few bucks here, which I wouldn't have recommended, I wouldn't think that's a good idea because it's so extended. But if you were, and then this happens, yeah, unless you were at your computer or you had stop orders in place, yes, you may have only intended to risk a few bucks a share, but then you suddenly risked 20 bucks a share, okay? But is this kind of day likely to happen consecutively? Probably not. There have been a few cases where it did happen, right? What really comes to mind is these days, sort of the pre-capitulation days. These were pretty massive days. This day in particular was negative about 7%, so it's pretty similar to Friday's move, okay? Give or take. I mean, Friday's move was actually only like 4%, but I think this looked so bad just because we had been marching up so much, when in fact it's sort of overdue. So I don't think it's too much to be up in arms about if we can go from 530 to 500 overnight, lose 30 points when it's at 530, and then you go from 670-ish to 650, lose 20 points. You know, it is what it is. AMD is the stock that is now in a good buying opportunity spot. And could we come down a little bit further tomorrow? And then as of the time you're watching this video, if it's after tomorrow, maybe we've digested, chopped a bit, and really don't have much more to go down. There's going to be some buying opportunities. And I think a stock that already had a ton of interest and is now getting pushed down could be a good one to get into. So that is the idea, AMD. If you like these videos, hit that like button. But if you like timely stock ideas, head over to stockscommunity.com. You can try it out for $25 for 7 days. If that's a lot of money for you, don't join. But if you want to ask some questions, there's a weekly Q&A in there as well that's live. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit that. I will see you in the next one. Think green, but be careful. And look for buying opportunities even when it seems like everyone's worried, right? Good luck.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam.